All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another phenomenal episode of Dion's Daily Dose. So, today I have a very interesting show that I want to do for you, and I want to talk about several things. Fracturing in the parties. Now, on the one hand, is it just the natural progression of old to new? Or is it a complete takeover? Now, many on the left will claim that Donald Trump has completely changed the Republican Party. Some people believe for the better, some people believe for the worse. But I want to share, obviously, as a Republican, I believe that I have a general, especially with my wife as a party officer, I believe I have a general idea of what's going on in the county party. But what I don't know is the Democrat side. I have a couple of friends who are Democrats. I consider them friends. We're not like super close. I had more friends before Trump, but it is what it is. I'm not the one who ended it, by the way. So look, let's let's look at what's going on downstate now. I don't know if you guys know this, but Destiny Wells is fairly well known in the Democrat Party. I think she's running for AG. I'm not sure, but I ran across this video and I find it very interesting. It's only 3 minutes long. Let's listen here because I think you guys will find this interesting. Here we go.
Hey, it was a great day at No Kings. I can't wait to share everything that we did today and all the great signs we saw, all the protesting, and the community. But I wanted to drop in and let you know an update of some party business. Now, as many of you know, I've been involved with the state party for the last 4 years, about 5 years. And then last year I took a run at state chair because I had some fundamental differences with the insider class in the party and how we were doing business. So what I want to let you know is that there was a vote yesterday. The state party decided, they don't do this often, they decided that they were going to take a vote to endorse Andre Carson for Congress. Now, during that vote, some people peeled off. They said no. Some abstained. They said, we don't think that party bosses should be deciding races.
Now, this is very, very interesting because we're seeing a lot of the same stuff happening in the Republican Party. Again, in 2020, when I ran for US Congress, I was assured the party stays out of primaries. The party stays out of primaries.
Right. This is us from the top telling what should happen down. This should have been grassroots or at least by the county. Also, we had no notice. This wasn't an agenda item. We haven't gotten to talk about it with our membership. And then there were also people of the opinion that we need competition in the Indiana Democratic Party. We need competition in Congressional District 7 because of our low voter turnout, etc. So despite that, it was not a unanimous vote, but they will be endorsing the Congressman. What I am very concerned about, though, is the other conversation that took place. And that conversation was started by the state party chair, Karen Talion, and she wanted to tell the state central committee, and there was an agreement that they would be supporting data centers. The Democratic Party would be supporting data centers because they support labor. Now, labor is not a monolith, right? Specifically, what they were talking about are those in building trades who are pushing for the contracts, the construction contracts on these data centers. But what that does is it circumvents the community, right? This should be about the voters. It should be about the community and their decision on what they would like to see in their backyard.
And that's basically it. The point being, apparently, the Democrat state party here in Indiana is deciding to back data centers. Now, interestingly enough, as you guys well know, data centers do provide jobs for the construction. But once they're completed, there are almost no jobs available in the data center beyond a handful of techs that keep the place running. This is interesting to me because we're also seeing the same push, but for different reasons, from the Republican Party in Indiana. I think there are some very interesting and suspicious things happening. I do find it interesting, however, it's pretty funny. Of course, she started with just coming back from the No Kings rally. I'd like to remind everyone, in case people have forgotten, that when skate parks, the whole No Kings crowd, when skate parks were filled with sand to make them unusable during COVID mandated lockdowns, never forget how they treated us, locked us down, and ruined outdoor parks to keep us inside. Look, guys, remember that? Like, I have not forgotten. And Adam Carolla says, No Kings a-holes better go find an effing mirror. And he's not wrong. He's really not wrong. They're perfectly fine with authoritarianism as long as it's something that they support. But don't click away if anybody on the left is watching, because I do want to talk about something very interesting. There are a number of primary challengers here in LaPorte County for various Republicans on the ballot. And there are some surveys that are going around. And one of the questions on this survey is, do you consider yourself a Trump, MAGA Republican, or a traditional Republican? And that got me thinking, what is the difference, right? What is a MAGA Republican versus a traditional Republican? Well, we looked it up. And according to at least PubMed, it says MAGA value Trump over party, more populist and nationalistic, more likely to believe the 2020 election was fraudulent, less loyal to the party platform itself, and less willing, especially the younger crowd, to support hawkish foreign policy. Now, Liz, my wife, said, I asked her, in your opinion, what is the difference? And she put it a different way, which I think is very interesting. Traditional Republican is the belief that it takes years of work, $10,000 dinners. They're less willing to engage with the criticism and the bull. They go low, we go high. They'll ignore or they'll ignore it. We're not going to engage. We're not going to stoop to their level, kind of thing. And as far as the 10K dinner, when I first actually ran for Congress, I reached out to the LaPorte County Republican Party. I had almost zero contact with them prior to my run. So I wasn't a party person at all. I just said, look, nobody else is stepping up. I'm going to do this. Little did I know it would be packed. But in the process of inquiring, hey, blah, 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 one of the party officers, no longer an officer, said, well, you haven't put in your time. I said, what do you mean? Well, how many $10,000 a plate dinners have you held? I'm sorry, what? That's the kind of thinking, right? Oh, you have to work your way up. You start at this position and you serve for a little bit, and then you run for this position and you win. You help with this, you do that, you help with this, you do that, before you get to kiss the ring and become the constitutionally protected office that is open to anyone who meets the qualifications, right? MAGA, at least to my wife, and I agree with this, represents a completely different approach. It's not just Trump, right? It is a new way of doing things, more willing to bite back, for one. Oh, you want to go there? I bet. Well, you made out with your brother. You want to protest authority, but you were perfectly fine with the COVID policies type of stuff. If you guys have watched the show for any amount of time, you know that I have fundamental disagreements with some of the stuff Trump says and does. If, for example, Trump decided he was going to make his own party and it was diametrically opposed to many of the things in the Republican Party, I don't know that I would follow Trump. I don't know. I don't value person over ideals, right? Because on paper, the ideals of the Republican Party are what I align with, more conservative type stuff. But it's interesting because local politics is much more intimate as far as like your county council person or your commissioner, they shop at the same stores you do. They're out and about. You run into them. You see them. You can go up to them and be like, Mr. Council Person, come here. Or Mrs. Councilwoman, come here. That's the difference, right? On a state even level to national, you're not running into these people, not unless you go in that circle. The policy differences between not just the two parties, but the MAGA versus traditional Republican is much greater at the national level than at the local level, because even your Democrats will claim conservative policies on a local level because they know that resonates with the voters. The Republican Party, even the Democrat Party here in LaPorte County, based on the information that I have, has forgotten the meaning of precinct committee person, committeeman, whatever. Because now I will say the Republican Party of LaPorte County at least has monthly meetings and functions, fundraisers, supports the candidates, puts time and energy into that kind of thing. The Democrat Party less so. At least that's my understanding. Someone from the Democrat Party, by all means, if it is different than I have been led to believe, let me know. But my understanding is that the majority of the precinct seats go unfilled because there's simply not enough people willing to fill them. Now, there's this claim of factions in the party, and I imagine it's kind of the same in the Democrat Party, because just like you have MAGA versus traditional Republican, you have the progressive Democrats versus the blue collar or the JFK type Dems. A lot of people believe that aspect of the Democrat Party is dead and buried. I don't know. I think a lot of the union members are a lot more towards that versus the progressives. But here in LaPorte County, for example, we have these alleged factions in the Republican Party. Excuse me, the Stabos faction, the Grammarosa faction, the Dermody faction. For those of you not from here, Stabos is Timothy Stabos. He's running for county council. He's former LaPorte County auditor, and he is very vocal, right? He's very focused. He's an interesting individual. He's very passionate about the things he believes in. And one of the things that he's been very passionate about and outspoken about is no bid contracts and these mounting legal bills. When he was auditor, he tackled it. Irrelevant. The Grammarosa faction is county commissioner, vice president, Connie Grammarosa, who I've made no secret, I'm not a huge fan. Dermody is Tom Dermody, mayor of LaPorte. Now, that actually gets into one of the things that I wanted to touch on, which is there's this clique system that is perceived, at least in LaPorte County, with the Republican Party. For example, and some people have and oftentimes incorrect opinions regarding seeing people talk to certain people. Oh, you talk to Bob, so you hate Jill. When just because people are talking doesn't mean they're picking sides or conspiring. One example is there is a lady in the Republican Party who is genuinely nice. I mean, super, super sweet. She will talk to anyone. She will converse with anyone. Doesn't mean she's your friend. It doesn't mean that she's going to pick your side. It doesn't mean that she's even taking sides. She's just very vocal, very friendly, and an absolute sweetheart, Donna. She's incredible. But there is definitely a split between municipal and county, at least in LaPorte County, because no LaPorte City Republicans show up to county functions. They don't come. They're invited. Emails go out, but they don't come to precinct meetings. They don't come to events. They don't come to Lincoln Day. Now, I have heard rumors that city Republicans have been told that county Republicans hate them. I don't know who started this rumor. I don't know if we, as in me, was given false info, the people that I was talking to at the time. I don't know if that's correct, but it tracks. It tracks. It would make a lot of sense if that's the case. I want to squash that. There is no animosity, right? I genuinely wish the city Republicans would come around so that I could get to know them better than just seeing their name on various press releases or news stories or hearing their name on the radio, but have a sit down discussion with them about things. That's one of the reasons that I myself go to these various events, is because it gives me an opportunity to sit down with primarily elected officials and say, hey, so look, I don't agree with this, but please give me your reasoning for it, or what is going on. And that, so let's talk about one of the races that's coming up that I'm going to be watching closely. So one of them is for state rep for District 20, which is now my district that I live in. So this personally affects me. This is my state rep. The current sitting elected official is Jim Pressel, and he's been there since I don't know, at least 3 terms. It's been a minute. I don't always agree with the way that he votes, but at the breakfast, at the precinct meetings, he shows up. He comes. He mostly answers questions. He does a very good job at keeping us informed. And again, I don't always agree with the way that he votes on things. There are some videos circulating out there. For example, one of the videos is him talking about Indianapolis's roads. I don't give a damn about Indianapolis roads. I live in LaPorte. I care about LaPorte roads. I care about LaPorte County roads. Why is my money going to Indianapolis to fix their problems because of years of Democrat mismanagement? And the answer was, well, it's our state capital. Oh, and? Well, it reflects poorly. Okay, so it's our job to fix their screw-ups. And it's one of the reasons why the gas tax is so damned high in Indiana. I disagree with that idea, but he did show up. Not all of our elected officials show up. Not all of our elected officials put themselves in the position to be asked questions. One of the issues and questions that I had for him in the past was regarding his stance on commercial driver's licenses. And he was either the sponsor or co-sponsor of a bill that would essentially allow someone to come in from another state to show their CDL and then to be issued a new Indiana CDL without any kind of tests, any kind of paperwork. I said, I don't agree with that, because there are people out there who don't have the skills to be truck drivers despite getting the license. And you guys have seen the news. You've seen it. People are dying out there because these drivers either don't speak the language or never took a proper test in the first place. There was a there was a huge scandal in Louisiana, as a matter of fact, where members of the DMV, or I should say employees of the DMV, were involved in a scheme where they were paid in order to issue CDLs. And it was this fake truck driving school and all this big to do. We've just seen where California and New York are handing out commercial driver's licenses to drive 80,000 pound death machines. I was a trainer for many years and I loved it. I took it very, very seriously because that vehicle can not only hurt people, it can take people's lives quite easily. A semi truck will do a ton of damage. So I said, look, I'm not for that. I'm against that. And as we've seen, states are handing out licenses without the actual skills. So there's no way for Indiana to prove that these people even know what they're doing. Oh, what are you talking about? So I sent an article to him outlining the whole Louisiana thing. If you guys would like, let me know in the comments. I'll bring it back up and show you guys. But I sent it to him and there was no reply. Well, now that it's election time, suddenly he's running on, matter of fact, let me see if he did a bill where it's the opposite, right? It bans non-domiciled drivers from holding CDLs here. And I'm like, what happened? If my article led to this, then awesome. I'd love to know that. Or I should say my share. I didn't write the article, but I did show it to him. This was new to him. He hadn't heard of this. He hadn't heard of New York and California issuing. And Pressel, you have a lot of power. If you're watching this, you have a lot of power downstate. You're on multiple committees. You're in charge of a lot of things. Please pay more attention to that kind of stuff. I mean, semis are, like I said, I was a trainer for years. I took my job very, very seriously. I had 100% on-time rating and no at-fault accidents. I took it very, very seriously. And it just goes to show either optics for elections or something else is going on. I am not a huge fan of the data center issues. I'm not a huge fan of the way votes have been cast. I highly recommend you guys, especially if you live in District 20, just look at the voting record. And if you mostly agree, cool. Again, one of the things that I really like about Jim Pressel is the fact that he shows up to events and he is there to answer questions. He may not always give you an answer you like. There have been times where I've asked him a question. I'm like, no, but he showed up. I cannot say that for everyone. I cannot say that for every elected official. And it leads back to the thing that I was just talking about. These schisms, these factions. Look, I don't hate anyone. There are some people that really annoy me. There are some people that I dislike. But there's no hatred towards any of these Republicans. Even Connie, I dislike Connie for a variety of reasons. I don't hate her. Hate means you have to spend time thinking about that person. I try not to. I'm going to get more into why exactly I dislike her. Because why not? Right? There's a lawsuit, but I'm not going to talk about anything in there. And I think you guys deserve. I freely admit there has been a period where I've just kind of said, I'm just going to wait. And I've done that for a variety of reasons. Number one, because my wife is now the secretary of the party. I'm not trying to do or say anything that she will get kind of blowback from, even tangentially, right? I don't want that. I don't want to affect her potential political career because of this mouth. You guys know me. I don't care. I'll say it. But with her, I've been kind of, let me just wait. And then there's this lawsuit. So I've been like, maybe. So I'll get it in my head to maybe to talk about this or to talk about that. And so, yeah, all of that aside, we have a very interesting primary coming up. And there are several positions on both sides that are up for grabs. Now, are you guys happy with your current state laws? If you are, if you think that your current representative is doing a good job, then by all means, vote them back in. If you disagree with the majority of what they've accomplished while they've been there, then maybe it's time for new blood. But I'm here to tell you, especially in District 20, I think that election will be decided in the primary. I don't believe that Democrats stand much of a chance simply because Stark County is very red. It extends kind of from LaPorte County and the city of LaPorte down through South County and into Stark. District 20 does. And at least talking about that district, I think that race is going to be decided in the primary. I really hope that people just show up. I want record numbers, guys. What do we need to do to get people motivated? What do we need to do to get people to the voting booth? And I get it. I completely understand feeling like your vote doesn't matter. I would argue that the lower on the ballot you go, or I should say the more local you get, the more your vote matters. Maybe that vote for president in Indiana, let's face it, Indiana's going to go red. That's just the way it is. But for your local races, your county races, for stuff like that, your vote matters. And if you show up to the primary, your vote matters even more, because primary elections can often be decided by very, very few votes. Especially like going back to precincts and precinct committeemen. It's wild because when I ran in 2020 for Congress, what a naive fool I was. But I learned a lot. And one of the things that I learned is that precinct committeemen used to be integral and absolutely critical cogs in the machine of both parties. They used to be your first point of contact between whatever party you identify with and your little local neighborhood, right? You knew your precinct committeeman. It was almost like a Chicago alderman, because at least with the party, because these people would walk with candidates, knock doors, introduce them to the neighbors. Hey, this is where I use Bob. This is Bob. Bob's running for X position. I want you to meet Bob. I like Bob. Bob's cool. Or if you would have some, like, for example, right, here's an example you guys can relate to. When I lived in Michigan City, I lived on Providence Street. And Providence Street is this little bitty dead end street in a larger neighborhood, right? You have Carroll Ave that runs like this. Providence came off and went like this. And people would fly down that road. It was like a block long. I don't know why. I don't know how people got it in their head that that was the raceway, but people would, fly down that street. And there were kids out there, man, kids playing, kids walking. So the neighborhood kind of got together and we're talking, and we're like, we got to do something about this. Now, back in the day, again, whether you considered yourself Democrat or Republican, you would go to your precinct committee person and you would say, hey, man, we got a problem. This needs to happen. Interestingly enough, I actually went down to a city council meeting the road works meeting, whatever it was. I'm like, hey, what do I need to do? Because we need a speed limit sign. We need speed bumps. We need something. So it was decided in Michigan City that they would put speed limit signs up. Now, this was, let's see, Dwayne Perry was still mayor. So this was 2020, 2021, something like that. And that street is still waiting on speed limit signs. I don't know if anybody else has done, but the point is, for the short term, they brought the little machine that has the sensor on it, and it's digital, and it tells you how fast you're going, and it gets the lights to make you slow down. Apparently, they're very effective. They put that on the street for a bit, and it worked. It helped. People started slowing down. Great. And then they said, we got to move the machine because we need it somewhere else. Again, they're supposed to be installing speed limit signs on our street. I initially inquired about speed bumps, hoping that, maybe we could put a speed bump in the middle and then people would slow the heck down. And they're like, well, speed bumps are kind of expensive and they're this and they're that. But we do notice that there are no speed limit signs on that street. So we could install speed limit. Yes, absolutely. Again, still waiting on those. If I still lived there, I'd be following up, but I knew my days there were numbered anyway. So unfortunately, it's time for someone else to take up the mantle and get that taken care of. It's sad. It's sad that our government, our government is super quick to, and both city, county, state, it's super quick to come after you if you do something they don't like. But when they're supposed to do something to make life better, use the taxes for what they're supposed to be for, it somehow seems to take quite a while. What do you think is the most important position in the upcoming primary? Do you believe that it's state rep? Do you think we're looking at the Secretary of State? There are a lot of things that could potentially have huge effects for our state, our county. It's going to be interesting. I have reached out to both of the candidates in District 20 race. Juanita Haney is the challenger for this. She was on the show in the past when she ran. So she has agreed to come back on. I have reached out to current rep Jim Pressel. I'll be honest, guys, I don't expect him to come on. I hope he does, but I don't think he will. He has never showed any interest in having that kind of a conversation in the past. I've floated the idea before, and I don't think so. Again, to give credit where it's due, he does show up though at the breakfast and at precinct meetings. Usually he's dropped off at coming to precinct meetings lately. But he traditionally has shown up at the breakfast. So the breakfast, and this is important, starting this upcoming month, the 463 GOP is moving to Tony's Diner, since the place where we were having it, Portofino's, the golf course is closed. That whole annexation and all of that. Listen, I'm not jumping into that mess because I don't understand what happened there. I didn't do any digging. All I know is what I've heard. And the short version of what I've heard is that 39 North was annexed, which includes the area where Portofino's is, annexed to the city of LaPorte. And the first thing that was done was essentially the golf course was the housing there was basically made much smaller, developed, whatever, sold to a developer, something. Anyway, apparently they're going to build like apartments there or condos or something. The golf course is closing. Portofino's is closing because the golf course is closing. And you know what? One of the things, this is actually something that I do want to talk about. One of the things that was brought up at the very last breakfast that we had, and I heard this secondhand. One of the people who has always been amazing, by the way, is Mary, the server. I believe she's owner or part owner or something. Anyway, she goes, "You guys come for the breakfast. We appreciate your business, but what have you? We're like, we don't see you guys other than for the breakfast. You guys don't come for dinner. You don't come to for lunch. You don't come to just eat. You don't come here except for your monthly meetings. And what's up with that?" And she's right. She's absolutely right. As a matter of fact, these people have known for a long, and I'm just as guilty. I just never thought of going there. That was where we went for the breakfast. And so it just never dawned on us. I guess the point is, guys, don't forget to back your local businesses. Shop local. I'm just as guilty, man. Dude, Amazon. Amazon is a sickness, because I'll be like, "Oh, you know what I need for this?" And just pop the app open, right? "Oh, yeah. Okay, this one. Yeah, send it. It'll be here tomorrow. Great. It'll be here in a day and a half. Phenomenal." We got to be better. We got to do better. We have to do better. For many, many years, I only drove American. If I went to buy a vehicle, it was an American car. American cars are not the best in the world anymore. They're just not. I don't know if you guys have seen, but there are some crazy cars coming out of China now. I mean, just wild, electric, and they do all kinds of crazy stuff. There's tons of stuff in there. Look them up, because I could show you like 20 videos of 20 different ones. By all means, look into the crazy cars from China now. They got ones on the tail lights have puppies. It's just bonkers. Now, does that mean that they'll last longer? I don't know. What it does mean is that we are lagging behind. We really are. And going back to my previous point about, and this kind of circles back, right? The whole MAGA versus traditional Republicans, Trump over party. I am super pissed about this Iran thing. This thing is dragging on way too long. My understanding was we were going to go in, we were going to bomb, surgical strike the leadership, give Iran the opportunity to take back their country. And now people are talking about boots on the ground. They're talking about, "Oh, we got to do this, we got to do that." Not happy. I have morals and principles that don't always align with what I see Trump doing. And that's just reality. I don't care how, look, even the most hardcore Democrat, Obama loving person can agree that Obama did some shady ass shit sometimes, right? Fast and the Furious, the various gun running, the drone strikes. There's things we can point to that we don't necessarily agree with from any administration and from any party. Ultimately, we have to vote for what's best for our communities. And sometimes, regardless of the whole Iran thing, I still think Trump was a better choice than Kamala Harris. I'm sorry, King's people. I know you disagree, but she didn't bring anything to the table that, in my opinion, was worth pursuing. There's some downsides to Trump. There just are. Sometimes he says some off the wall, what type of stuff. Other times it's like, "Oh, okay, all right, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I voted for." This Iran crap, not necessarily what I voted for. I was on board, but guys, we've heard this before. We heard this story before. Weapons of mass destruction. Oh, we're going to be in and out. Oh, now I'm not saying doubt him. I'm not saying, go hold signs yet. But our young men and women that are serving the armed forces those are the people that we have to be concerned about when we're talking about putting boots on the ground. I am all for giving the Iranian people an opportunity to be free of a tyrannical regime. And regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum, when you have a leader that is perfectly okay with annihilating thousands and thousands of their own people, that's a tyrannical regime. It's that simple. So we should all be against Iran. We should all be against at least the leadership of Iran. I am perfectly okay with what regime change, right? I'm okay with getting rid of them. I'm okay with making sure they dip out. But why does that involve putting more look, that's the Air Force's job. The Air Force is take care of the skies, bomb the ground kind of thing. Air superiority, skies are clear, the skies belong to us. No one can compete with the United States in air superiority. But we have seen that sometimes boots on the ground turn into a whole big mess. I do not want another forever war. I don't care who's president. I don't care what they sell it to us as. Not a fan. I don't want it. So I really hope that, and leading from that, because I think it's important, did you guys see that J.D. Vance was actually against even doing this? Iran, I guess, didn't want to deal with anyone else other than J.D. So I'm hoping that, and if you follow, right, if you follow the logic and you look at the long term, I think J.D. Vance, they're going to put him up there as the peacemaker, right? As the next Trump, if you will, or at least the next major candidate. I don't mind. Let me turn this off. I don't mind JD. I don't know that he's I don't know that he's quite ready, and I do have my concerns about, how do I put this, where his wealth originates. But nobody poor is winning the presidency, guys. Not today, not tomorrow. That's just, and as someone who is not wealthy, it's a different world, man. It just is. These people are friends. They're connected. And look at Trump before he ran against Hillary. She was all about him, right? Oh, we need someone like Donald Trump because he can't be bought. Until he ran against her. Then all of a sudden he was, evil incarnate. But anyway, what do you guys think about your local party? Do you guys get involved? Do you show up to precinct meetings? Do you go to the events? We try to have events. I will say this, it's gotten a lot more active in the last few years. We're having regular meetings. We're having people show up to events. As a matter of fact, some of the meetings are packed, which is good. We want to see people active. And even if that activity is just showing up and going, hey, we don't agree with the way this is going, but I'm still your constituent and I want to talk about it. I expect change in this area. That's okay. I love to see that. I love vocal people. It's one of the reasons I started this show, not just to talk about me and introduce myself to people because I was running for office, but also to talk about local issues and issues that I see on a national level that affect us locally. Gas prices are one of those. Gas prices affect all of us. And again, so you guys not from LaPorte County may not know this, but LaPorte County is like the most expensive county for gas in the surrounding area. Nobody can explain why, but it is more expensive by usually about at least between 5 and 15 cents difference between LaPorte County and if you just go west into Porter County or east into St. Joseph. you'll save money every time. And that's not even going into Michigan and getting rid of Indiana gas tax, which look up who was responsible for that gas tax. Just saying, there were certain leaders of the movement, right? We need that gas tax because we need to pay for our roads, and what's going on does not give us enough money to pay for the roads. So we need to do the additional gas tax on top of what we already have. And I hate the government taking our money, man. That I do hate. Taxes suck. Not going to pretend like anybody likes paying taxes, but there's limits. There's from the same state who will not legalize marijuana despite the overwhelming majority of Indiana residents being in favor of it. That's one of the things that I ran on, and it's sad, right? Now, allegedly, Braun is looking at it, and we'll see. Nothing's going to come of that anytime in the near future, in my opinion. I just don't think it's going to be something they're actually going to move on until they're forced, right? But there are so many other pressing issues, guys. The files, the absolute sheer level of corruption in every aspect of our government. And I'm not pointing fingers to anyone in particular. You guys know where if you open your browser and put official arrested, there are not nearly as many as there should be compared to what we know is going on. It's just that simple. Like, there is no way that cities lose millions and millions and millions of dollars. Again, I'm not saying anyone in particular. Just look, though. We all know it. We all know. The FBI, perfect example, right? Depending on which wing of the same bird is in charge, it's either targeting conservatives or protecting conservatives. It's the same thing. It's just a slightly different way of doing it. The Epstein thing, they're protecting everybody by not going after these people. If you hurt kids, public execution, and it should be pay-per-view. Send the proceeds, send the profits to the victims or the victims' families. It's just how I feel. There is no shortage of targets for these disgusting actions. No shortage of targets. These perpetrators, we deserve to see justice, and it's not going well. It's just not. Now, are there a record number of human trafficking arrests behind the scenes that are not publicly put out there? It seems to be. If you pay attention to, where's it at? I think it's justice.gov. Let me see here. Human. Let me get this up here. We'll take an arrest. All right. So according to this, all right, so I just put in human trafficking arrest, justice.gov. It says here, press room. Okay, so what do we got here? Looking at this, if you go here, so it looks like March 23rd, March 27th, would-be trafficker sentenced for attempted coercion of a child, attempted trafficking of a young adult. El Paso man charged after stash house discovery linked to smuggling operation. 5 members of sex trafficking ring sentenced to nearly 120 years in prison. California man convicted of sex trafficking victims across the United States. 5 members of sex trafficking. This is happening. It is. We're just not getting the headlines about it. Why? Why do you think that is? because they're too busy covering the No Kings protest. They're too busy telling you to be angry about ICE in our airports, which, now that I think about it, I am actually going to show you something, because this was, I don't see it right now. I'll get to it. We'll have it on the next show. But the point is, Hakeem Jeffries, right, held this press conference, or was it Cory Booker? One of the two, held this little press conference in the airport where ICE had taken over, and he's talking about what chaos has happened in the airport because the Democrats are still shut down and the Republicans are holding up funding, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he's talking about the chaos, and the cameraman is panning around, and I don't see chaos anywhere. I don't even see long lines. I see people getting on their flights and leaving. Like, I don't see any chaos. So the messaging needs work, guys. The left, your messaging needs work. But people can see with their own eyes that not that long ago, there were massive lines in the airport because TSA was so short-handed. Why were they so short-handed? Because they weren't getting paid and people were calling off. If any of you have flown recently, you know. You're being distracted by that. You're being told to pay attention to that, when instead, well, let's see if I can find it. Whatever. I can't find it. I'm not gonna make you guys wait, but you're being told to focus on the wrong thing. Just like always, we are being held up. This is what you should focus on. It's all smoke and mirrors. There are things happening. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see more public, but we can't control how the media report. However, I did see something interesting. Did you guys notice that the White House actually made an app? That reminds me. And I decided, I was like, let me see this thing. There we go. And boop. All right. So, new White House app delivers unparalleled access to the Trump administration. I don't know if you guys saw this. I get so many text messages a day because I'm signed up, to get, yeah. Okay. So, of course, here we go. Look at this. Trump's new White House app is a security and privacy nightmare. The White House app is just as weird and unnecessary as you expect. White House launches app touting Trump's record with some key omissions. I don't know, guys. What I do know is it's an app that has direct access to live streams. That's what I noticed first of all, was you go into it and you can access live streams that the White House does without having to worry about the way that CNN or Fox News or fakenews.com is spinning it. It's direct, which I like. I've always been a big fan. I wish the man would just do a live stream like I do, right? Hey guys, listen up. It's Trump. Listen up. I think it'd be amazing. But what it says here is today the White House launched its powerful new mobile app delivering. Okay. See, stuff like that is annoying. Go away. Where is the X? Bruh. Anyway, you guys can figure it out on your own. I don't know why this is here. I can't get rid of it. I see no X, so oh well. Anyway, that's about it for today. I'll leave you guys with this thought. If you care about the way that your town is run, city, county, whatever, if you care about gas prices, if you care about your privacy, if you care about data centers, if you care about any of that stuff, You need to get your ass to the polls and vote in the primary, because so many races are determined in the primary. Whether you are happy or unhappy, if you want effective change, and if you really want your vote to matter, primary voting is where it's at. And local. Primary and local. The closer to you, the more it matters. Look, here's an example, right? Precinct committee person, all right? What do? That's debatable. But from there, you have your convention delegate. And you can vote coming up this primary. You can vote for convention delegate. And convention delegate only is going to decide whether Diego Morales is on the ballot for the general election. It's that simple. The only way you can vote for your convention delegate is to go and pull a ballot. Convention delegate for the other side, I'm not sure. I'll be honest, I don't know who's running for Secretary of State on the Democrat side. I don't remember. I don't even know if it's contested. Let's take a look. Let's find out together. Here we go. All right. So Indiana Democrat. I'll get it eventually. Yep. All right. So let's see here. Does it say this? June 6th. The candidates are, Bo Bai. I forgot. Yeah, Bo Bai and Blythe Potter. I don't know who that is, but if you want to decide whether one of them is in the general election, then you have to get down and pull a Democrat ballot for the primary. It's just that simple, because you are then going to determine which of these people are going to go to the convention to choose Bo Bai or Blythe Potter. Same thing for the Republican side, whether you view yourself as more of a Democrat or more of a Republican, or you're kind of in the middle. The most effective change, the most effective vote is in the primary, at least in Indiana. So do with that what you will. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful evening. Talk to you again real soon. God bless you, God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America. Good night.